Hi, welcome to the Career Corner. My name is Heather Swift and I'm delighted to be your host. The purpose of the Career Corner is to help people move from career distress to career success. Today we'll be talking about the world of HR and how to connect with the HR resource community with my guest, Senior HR Practitioner and founder of Whine and Dine, Keith Bogen. Keith, welcome to the Career Corner.
Thank you.
I should say welcome back to the Career Corner.
Yes, I'm excited.
So I would love for us to talk how Whine and Dine has grown since you were on the show a couple years ago, and who is benefiting from your growth and who are you attracting to Whine and Dine these days?
Well, it's interesting because a couple of years ago, I would say the word networking frequently drew job seekers, even though to me networking and job seeking are two different subjects. So there was a lot of attendance at events that we had in various cities that was built up by the job seeker. Now, as the economy has started to get better, the attendance is still fairly good, but it's much more of the working practitioner as opposed to the job seekers. The job seekers have gone in different routes. There's still a few that come to the events, but a lot more of the working practitioners who have weathered the storm. Whether they were not working at one time and found their job or have been working all along but understood the value of networking. That's the power behind the events that we have.
So are you finding that people are coming to them to build more of community and to share best practices with one another? Is that one of the good side effects?
I think it's taken a while to get the message out, but yes, that's exactly what a lot of them are doing. As people come in, sometimes they don't quite understand what it is we're doing. They just understand that a group of HR people are together and they want to meet other human resources practitioners. And then they start to learn the reason behind the group, the concept of sharing of best practices and ideas and getting to know other people so that you're in a good position to help other people when the time calls.
And everyone is always on one side of the coin at some point.
Well, that may be a bit of an overstatement, but not terribly much so. Yeah, we all stand the risk of being on the wrong side of that coin.
Or even, and not even just so much job loss, but in need of someone that can do a favor for you, and at some point, it's nice to be able to reciprocate that, and through many different ways, of even just sharing of resources, of I'm looking for someone that can do X, who's an expert in this area.
Exactly, and there have been so many examples of that. I think people are, in the past they've been intimidated to ask for help like that. A lot of practitioners, people in general, professionals, feel they need to do their job and do it by themselves, and if they ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. And one of the things we try to share is, in fact, we think it's a sign of strength. The ability to share and put your hand up when you might not have something, but reach out to your resources. That makes you much more valuable to the organizations you're with, to have access to that kind of information, putting the minds of 10,000 people together instead of just one.
One thing I think that's so great now about with the social media and how you can reach out to people too is because with that avenue, it's changed so much over the years. Where before, like, you'd get something in the mail, now you get the emails, but now you also are seeing things posted on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. What avenue are you finding that you're reaching most of your people through?
Well, I think that from a daily information exchange, LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. We have Yahoo groups, and we are on Twitter, and we have a LinkedIn group. We just today, in fact, it's very interesting, we hit 3,000 members in our LinkedIn group.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
So it's a very exciting day for us. We have well over 1,000 followers on Twitter, so we have a weekly digest that's published through that as well. So we're sharing a lot of information that way. The Yahoo groups are a powerful tool. People ask questions, and there's over 2,000 members there that are constantly throwing answers back. So it's a combination. You have to play in various fields. You can't just have one way of exchanging information. Very different than it even was when we sat here 2 years ago.
And now, are you the army of one, or do you have team members that are helping you with this?
I think it's actually the reverse. I tell everybody, I may have founded Whine and Dine, but I don't run any of the groups. There are 15 groups, 15 different cities.
Oh, wow.
I don't run any of them. I have people who have stood up and understood the value of what running a group and building a community in their city does. And in every one of those cities, there's at least 2 people running those groups. I don't touch that because I'm traveling between the groups, but they're much more equipped in their geographies and knowing the landscape of where they are to run the groups.
That's exciting.
Yes,
I mean, it is your baby. I know you have other people babysitting the baby, but it is, you did create it and birth it into formation and bring it to fruition. So what does that feel like now after these years to see it going into so many cities and states? And
Well, let me add to what you just said, because we're also in more than 40 different countries.
oh, wow.
The groups are here in the United States, primarily on the East Coast, but the social media has taken us all over the globe.
Interesting.
So when I go through the LinkedIn group and the membership there, and I go through the Yahoo group, and we're in, I should say, so many different countries, it's amazing, and we get commentary and questions from people in other countries. So what does it feel like? It's exciting
your
to
fan
see
club,
that.
Your fan club has grown across the pond.
Yeah, I don't
That's
look at it
nice.
as my fan club. I look at it as my network.
Okay.
And I think that's much more important. My name, yes, it's become fairly recognizable.
Well, I'm going to call it your
but-
fan club. You call it your network.
I think that people are a fan of building a community, of sharing knowledge, of being better at what they do because they have a group of people with them sharing the journey. And I'm one of those people. Someone would have created this all along. I'm happy to have been the one to do it. And you see my business card, it says Chief Networking Officer and founder of the organization. I take the credit, I understand that. But for me, it's important to have the community and to sustain it. And it's not just me doing that. I'm not an army of one. There's a number of people out there, not just the people who run the groups, but all the contributors. There's so many people contributing the questions, the answers, the information to the various social media.
You were the first person, I think the only person I've ever met who has called themselves the Chief Networking Officer.
It's a wonderful thing. When you run your own business, you can pretty much call yourself anything you want. But it also made the most sense. I toyed around with it for a while. I talked to a lot of people. And that was an idea that kept coming back to me from a lot of people, the one that seemed to make the most sense. I've seen a couple of other people try on the title, so it may not be unique anymore, but it's unusual.
Yeah, but it suits you very well because that is one of your goals, was to bring people together and to foster that community.
Absolutely.
So you have been an HR professional for the majority of your career, would you say, or out of
Correct.
college did you immediately start in the HR profession?
I actually was in banking, doing mortgage analysis for a couple of years before I got into human resources work. I spent a little time in banking, and then I went back to graduate school and did my human resources management master's degree and a labor relations master's degree as well. And that's what really launched my career about 18, 19 years ago now.
And now how did you know, you're in banking, how did you know that the people part was going to be more important to you than the numbers that you just came from?
Well, at the time, that's exactly how I described it, the people part. And I got very fortunate. One of my friends at the bank was the director of human resources. I didn't know a thing about what he did, but I just knew that whenever we went out to lunch, his stories were a lot more interesting than mine. And that's what made me check out, take a course, look at the career. And as soon
You're like,
as I
you can
took
get paid for this? This is kind of cool. Okay.
As soon as I took one course, I fell in love. I knew I was home.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
That I wish everyone had such a quick lineage to, here's my home, this is where I'm meant to be and to serve and to use all of my talents and skills and everything. Because some people, as you know, they try on many different hats, and some never ever feel like they totally locked in. But some people do, but it's taken a little trial and error.
I think
Part of the
it
lessons,
took me a while. I once fancied myself to be an architect, and I thought about being a computer science expert. That was a disaster. And I was a psychology undergrad, and I thought about being a teacher. And it took me a while to find my path. It certainly wasn't quick. I was blessed enough to know that when I did find human resources, I was home.
That's nice.
The light went on.
That's good.
Yep.
That's half the battle, I think, is just getting to that light, and all the rest just makes really colorful stories.
Yes,
So.
and to your point, I think there are a lot of people who may never really figure it out, but do something to earn a living. But I've been blessed to find my passion.
When I've tried mentoring some young people over the years, I've always said, you don't need to know, what you want to be when you grow up, but you need to find out what you're good at, what your passion is, and what you'd love to do. And let's see if we can combine that with a way to provide income or find elements of that. And if someone is, say, fully into law, for instance, but their passion is singing, they can still do the singing for fun on the side while they're paying their mortgage with the law. It's not like you have to, I think, let all of your passion go by the wayside because you're not, paying your bills with it. But I think some people realize that, there's a lot of actors and talented people and outside the New York tri-state area. Not all of them are on Broadway or in films, but they're paying their mortgage somehow. And it's I think, depending on what do you want to sacrifice. And other people are so tried and true that they'll do the late night concerts and, off Broadway, and that's their dream and they have no other choice. So.
And I think a lot of what I once thought I might do still peeks into what I am doing currently. For instance, I once thought of being a teacher. Well, I'm not a teacher now, but I do a lot of coaching at the youth sports, in the youth sports. So I'm constantly mentoring young children. I have 2 sons of my own. One's an early teenager, one's younger than that. And so I'm coaching their teams frequently, and I do a lot of teaching and mentoring to the children who come my way. So I live out the teaching part of my life through
That's nice.
Sports coaching.
That's good. I bet the boys enjoy that too.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, until they're full-fledged teenagers, I guess you got to keep riding that wave when we're doing it.
Yeah.
What advice do you give your kids as they're starting to explore, even though they're young? Do you pick up any of their passions as young people?
Well, so far their passions are sports, and sports.
Oh, sports.
Yeah.
Well, what about sports?
So, yeah, a little bit of that. Well, actually, there's some other things that are starting to peak out, and I'm seeing essence of me, as a matter of fact, in both of them. It's a little early to see where they're pointing right now, but I'm trying to be patient on that, like any parent would be.
I always find it interesting when parents are in a certain profession like HR, because there's so much good wisdom and advice to be able to impart, but it's also kind of like holding back the reins a little bit and letting them start to try their own things at that time.
Right. They're both fully aware of what I do, both from my human resources practitioner side and leading the Whine and Dine networking organization, and what the groups do and what they're meant to do. And in fact, I've taken both of the boys to several of the events.
That's great.
There was times when we used to introduce everybody at the events, and they would get up and they'd introduce themselves just like they were one of the practitioners.
What a great experience for them.
Their first time doing that, the younger one was 6 years old when he did it for the first time. Many people still remember that day. It was like 4 years ago, I guess, 5 years ago. And some people still think he was better than some of the other people in the room when he did it.
He was probably a lot more authentic, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's cute. Well, we're going to take a brief break, and then we'll be right back. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Keith Bogen in a few moments.
Local government, local educational institutions, and local community members all use cable access TV to communicate their message. They depend upon it as an affordable means of outreach. Public educational and government access television empowers local government agencies, individuals, and groups to use the media to speak directly to their constituents in a more direct and cost-effective way. Make sure everyone has a voice. Support your local PEG channels.
Hi, my name's Heather Swift, and we're back with a Career Corner, speaking with Keith Bogen. So, Keith, can you please talk to us about what people are expecting when hiring candidates these days, and what's the difference between looking for your next job and also managing your career?
Well, let me take the latter half of that first. A lot of people, when they're looking for their next job, almost operate in a silo mentality. And understandably so. If they're not working, they need to be working. They need to draw a paycheck. But they make the mistake of only talking to people who can help them find that job, get to a paycheck. And what I believe very strongly that they're forgetting is the rest of their career. That everyone they encounter in their life, whether it be in professional or social circles, could be somebody who might help them at some stage of their career, whether it be knowledge acquisition or job acquisition or what have you. So I may meet a series of people now who won't necessarily get me that next job, but might be really instrumental in helping me land something 3 years from now, or get critical information so I can be more effective 5 years from now. So when I'm building a whole network of people, I don't want to ignore the ones that can't help me right now. And quite frankly, I want to instead extend the hand to help them. I want to make sure that I learn as much about everyone who crosses my path, and whoever I can help, I want to help. And there is some motivation to that. Eventually that stuff comes back, not from everybody. Not everybody comes back and helps you, no doubt, that's just human nature.
Yes, it's true.
But people will come back if you help enough, if you make that much of a difference in people's lives, it does come back. And that's held true for everyone I know who's really extended themselves in that way. And it's a very fulfilling thing too. So a number of the jobs I've had over time, and I've been a consultant for the last 10 years, so there have been quite a number of clients.
So you get to experience a lot of different cultures.
A lot of different cultures, a lot of different industries and that sort of thing. And a lot of those came from long-term relationships I had. People I might have known for 5 or 10 years who did not necessarily help me, so to speak, at the beginning, but had something for me later, had some way of lending me a helping hand after I might have done a series of things for them over the course of years. So that's the way I built my career, if you will. Now there are still times when I have gaps between opportunities, when I'm not in a role. That doesn't mean that networking has failed. It doesn't mean that I've done something wrong. It just means that the chips haven't fallen quite that way, so there might be a break between jobs. That's okay.
I like what you said about it's not just what I can get, but what also can I extend back, and how that shifts from time to time. And I was just at an event with a friend who was in a very senior role, and she got downsized. Actually, the whole organization actually went away. So to no fault of her own, she found herself on the market, and she actually got uninvited to certain events, and found that people who she's helped all of a sudden went dark. And it was a real interesting experience for her, because she said people that she thought would help didn't, and people that she never would have dreamed would come forward did. And it was a real education for her to realize who your true friends are, who your work family is, and when push comes to shove, the people that show up are the ones, ignore what you hear and watch what people do. That was my father's dating philosophy to me. And it works with business and friendships, so it has served me well in 3 facets of my life. And she's now landed a very senior, powerful job. And some of the first people to say, congratulations, let's do lunch, are the same women that went dark on her when the company disbanded. And she's still taking that all in.
And she hasn't gone to lunch with them quite yet either, I'll bet.
She has not yet.
Yes, I'll bet. And people perceive what you might be able to do for them, and the relationship gets warmer when they think you can do more for them.
Kind of sad, actually.
It is, but I've learned to see it, and it's plenty warm with lots of people out there for me, because a lot of people perceive that I can do so much for them. Given
your magical superpowers, yes.
Right. Especially the people who really want something fast, and you can tell they're not ready to give anything back. I call that, they'll come into events, they'll dish out a homemade business card, and then they'll leave. We call that dive bomb networking. They'll come in, they'll hit the room, they'll think that they've scored these wonderful relationships, and then they can call you and say, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
In my life, I've never asked that question. I've never asked, what can someone do for me? The only question I ever ask is, what can I do for them? I know that if I do that enough, it'll come back. And it does. It really does. It has so often.
It's called karma. It's called good karma, building good karma in relationships.
Karma, call it whatever you want. It's just the nature of human relationships. You're absolutely right. When I do public speaking engagements, I talk about the power of networking. I refer to how every morning, and I do this, I will get up, and one of the first things I do is I'll look in the mirror and I will ask the person looking back at me, who can I help today? Usually that person's me. When it isn't, I'm in trouble, but that's okay. That's how I start my day, and that's how I end my day. And it's extraordinarily fulfilling. In the middle, plenty of people help me. Happens all the time. But I don't ask.
It just kind of unfolds organically, I think.
Exactly.
Especially when you keep showing up and you have a very healthy, different way of looking at that, I think, and what could be considered a very cutthroat society, especially with the downturn. And I know that you just helped staff a couple 100-person project, which is huge in a very short amount of time. I was hoping you could share with us and our viewers, how do you get yourself to be recognized and stand out on a resume when you're hiring a lot of people and you're trying to compare things? What are you looking for? What can people do to not be just sent to the black hole and to make their brand stand out more?
Well, from a job seeker perspective, my reference to the black hole is applying online.
Yes.
On a website. And I assume that's commonly shared. If a job seeker only applies online, the chances of them landing the statistics prove out to be less than 4%.
Less than 4%.
Less than 4%. And actually,
don't only apply online.
one of the experts I trust the most, just a few nights ago, told me that her version was now down to 2%.
Wow.
So, but it doesn't mean you don't apply online.
Because everyone's doing it, but Keith, everyone's doing it. And they say apply here. So what's someone supposed to do?
You have to do that.
Yep.
So if I get a job opportunity with Coca-Cola, big national employer, a multinational employer, and I want to apply online, I will do that. Alongside of that, I'm going to go into my LinkedIn and I'm going to find people who might know people that can get me introduced to someone inside who can be my champion. You can't just send it into the black hole. Unless you have the exact keywords, you won't be found, because every one of these...
The keyword search, yes, of course.
The keyword search is applied in every applicant tracking system, and you have to have the exact match or close to it, or you won't be selected. You could be the perfect candidate, but if your word selection is odd...
So, okay, so let me turn this around on you here. So, but you were the person doing the hiring. So, did you have people that did that and tried to reach out to you to find you, as you're saying that you would have done for the Coca-Cola example?
I actually was the person who was leading the team who was doing the hiring. We had a whole series of recruiters doing that. And yes, people were finding avenues to get introduced, whether they were being introduced through the hiring managers from where they had previously worked, or they were being introduced through other industry contacts. But a lot of the candidates came to us through introductions, and not all of them had resumes that I would have chosen. But when you get to meet them, you figure out that they actually have the skills and the abilities to do the job, and a lot of those got hired.
Okay.
But they would never have made it through the door. Some of the ones I'm referring to, they would never have made it through the door if it had just been a piece of paper in an applicant tracking system. They utilize the power of connections. It's not a question of, gee, I know this person, so I have an in. I'm superior or anything, but it's a way of getting past the electronic mess and demonstrating to somebody your worthiness to be introduced. When you walk up to me and say, John is a good candidate, I know you well. I trust your word. I'm going to look at the document.
Because my brand is backing John's brand.
Right.
I've heard a saying before that you're only as good as your last referral. And when people are referring, how important it is to make sure they're of a certain quality that you feel comfortable. And we've all been in situations where people have come for help, and we're like, that's rough, because we know the quality isn't what I would want to offer to you, because I wouldn't want you to be stuck with this person going, thanks for nothing, Heather,
I get asked, I have nearly 3,000 contacts in my LinkedIn. I've had conversations with all of them. Some way of determining whether or not we can help each other at some point. And I get asked all the time, would you please introduce me to so-and-so? And it presents a dilemma. Sometimes, most times, I'm very happy to do that because I can tell the quality of the work, or I've known somebody.
And you've actually had a conversation with them. They're not just a random person saying, be my friend. Okay.
But there are exceptions, and there are some people who you're troubled by doing that. And I may make the introduction anyway, but I will be clear with the person I'm introducing that I may not know all the facts, that it may just be for a conversation, that I might not necessarily recommend for a job.
That's a disclaimer on the bottom of your email. No animals were harmed in the making of this resume. However, I don't know them as well as so-and-so. Okay.
When you know that many people in a technology tool like LinkedIn, you can't know everybody that well.
And you have an extraordinary amount of people in your network, so that's more rare, I think, than the average user of 200 to 500 or so.
It's probably more than the average user, yeah, but there's a lot of people who are starting to build it up. What concerns me is there's a lot of people with 10,000.
Well,
and more who
well,
don't
they
know a
just say
single
they're
person.
like what's that called? The open
The Lion, the
yes.
LinkedIn Open Networker.
Yes.
And that can be a very good tool. Some of my very close recruiter friends are Lions, but they do that to build up a candidate database. They don't need to meet the person ahead of time. They just want to get access to their profile. That makes all the sense in the world. But there are other people who just think it's a numbers game, like friends on Facebook. They just want to have as many numbers as
Look
they
how
can.
many people like me. I have all these friends.
Right, and then you're like, but who's this person? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't help. What is the point of that?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know who your network is and have some idea, and also to be very honest. To going back to what we were talking about, if someone's asking for an introduction, you can make that introduction, but you're telling the person you're sending it on to, this is what I know. I may not know that much, but it might be an interesting conversation for you, as opposed to someone I know very well and saying, hire this person right now. You've got to see
Don't
this
let them
person.
get away.
Right.
So we only have about a minute or so left. So can you share some tips about do's and don'ts for LinkedIn? And would you say one should be that you should know the person before you accept the invitation, or have a conversation before just blanketly letting people be part of your network?
I have personal preferences. There's no right or wrong here.
But what's yours, though?
For me, if someone sends me the generic template that says, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network.
Yeah, love that. The personal touch there is so beautiful.
One of two things will happen. Either I
Yeah.
will click ignore. I'll never say no. They have a genuine interest to link with people. That's not a bad thing. It may not be right for me. So I may either ignore it, or I'll send back a message before I accept saying, tell me how we can help each other. Why did you invite me into your network? So I won't just...
I like that, though, asking a question back, saying, oh, I don't think we've met yet. What about me interests you?
Right. There's a reply function, and people really need to be using that to get
That's
more
great.
value out of it. And then build on those relationships. Don't just bring someone into your network and then leave them there. Periodically reach out. Now, you can imagine that's a bit of a challenge for me when I have 3,000 people. But if I...
Get your 6-year-old on the case. He'll help
Oh, yeah.
you.
Tomorrow morning I'm going to Tyson's Corner, Virginia for a seminar.
Oh, wow.
So last week I found it was like 50-something people who were my first-degree contacts in 25-mile range of that. And I reached out to all of them. And I said, hey, I'm coming down. Do you want to grab a cup of coffee or something like that? We haven't connected in a while. If I go to my New York Whine and Dine event, I'll probably reach out to about 25 or 30 people by LinkedIn, and I'll say, hey, are you coming to the event? I'd like to connect.
That's
we haven't
great.
talked in a while. And each time I go somewhere in a different geography, I'll make sure I just send a message.
That's great.
Even if I know when their birthday is or something like that, or I'll follow up on LinkedIn's updates that say, this person has a new picture, or this person has changed their profile. I'll follow up with a quick message that's saying, hey, interesting, what's going on in your life?
Oh, that's great.
So I try to use those tools to stay in touch.
That's good. Well, I thank you so much for being my guest today and for all of your wonderful tips and suggestions, and congratulations on the success of Whine and Dine.
Thank you. Looking forward to more.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for joining us for another segment of the Career Corner. Please check us out on YouTube. Until we meet again, I wish you much career success.